Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Episode 151. We're playing some Mega Man 2 on the NES, although I'm playing with an SNES controller because I'm cheating. And, yeah. Yes, indeed. Oh boy. So this is ignore that. This is the last weekend before Gen Con. It is the 50th year anniversary of Gen Con. So Gen Con originally stood for Lake Geneva Convention. Lake Geneva is a town here in Wisconsin, which is where Gary Gygax lived or was nearby, something like, I don't know exactly. And so he started a convention 50 years ago. That was about some nerd shit, as you probably are aware. And it has kind of blossomed since then. It has moved out of Wisconsin, very unfortunately. I wish it was still here. And now it is in Indianapolis, which is probably where it's going to stay for a good while, unless something drastic happens to Indianapolis. And so now it's basically the... I don't know if it's definitely the largest board gaming convention in the Western Hemisphere. I don't know if Essen is actually bigger or not, but yeah, it's a pretty damn big board gaming convention, role-playing game convention. Wizards of the Coast actually used to be there with Dungeons & Dragons stuff. They used to do their announcements there. You know, you'd think they would be there. It's started by Gary Gygax, who kind of, you know, created Dungeons & Dragons. But they've actually completely evacuated the event, and now they have their own event, which nobody really cares about. I don't know why, but that's how they do it. But Paizo has a very, very big presence at Gen Con. What? That was a glitch. That was a... Come on. Come on. Last year we walked past the Paizo room, and man, it's just like this gigantic ballroom just filled with tables of people playing Pathfinder and stuff. And Paizo is kind of branching out into other RPGs. I think they have like a Starfinder or something like that, space-ish role-playing game coming out. So yeah, Paizo is the main RPG presence there, I guess. But there's a lot of RPG companies there. But I and my friends are going for the board games. So last year was our first year at Gen Con. We had a ball of a time. It was really good. Just hanging out. You know, playing board games, new games, some old games that we haven't played before. Getting food trucks. Food trucks are great. I got to meet Tom Vassell last year. He signed my copy of Cosmic Encounter. Just an all-around good time. There wasn't really much negative I could say about our trip last year. We didn't really know what was happening, and we were newbies and stuff like that, and so there were things that we thought we would correct, but still, it was a great time. So this year, of course, 50th anniversary, they sold out of tickets, which has never happened in the history of Gen Con. So nobody knows exactly how many people are going to be there. It's going to be more packed than last. I mean, it's the 50th anniversary. So it's probably going to be pretty nuts. We are driving up Wednesday evening. God damn it. Wednesday evening, we're gonna get there at like, I don't know, 10 or something like that. There's no rush because it doesn't really open until Thursday. Thursday morning, we got to be there bright and early because that's when the exhibition hall opens, or the exhibitors hall, which is where all the games are being sold. And there isn't actually a huge amount of shit that I am, like, hyped about. Like, there isn't any game that I'm aware of that people are like, this is what you gotta pick up at Gen Con. Everybody is talking about this. This is, like, last year it was Seafall, which ended up being a huge flop and a disaster, so, you know, it shows how that goes. But this year, there's not much. I mean, I'm definitely interested in picking up some Arkham Horror card game stuff, because I know it'll be there. Man, I'm stupid. Maybe pick up the Legend of the Five Rings card game LCG that they're coming out with, because I don't know, why not. And there's like a couple other games that, like, if they're sitting there on the shelf, I would purchase them, but I don't know if it's like I need to rush the booth. So, God, this is such a lame part. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm going to purchase stuff. Games are going to be bought. But really, I would probably be fine just, like, hanging out at the auction for a while. Just buying old games that I have not purchased yet, but I would be interested in if the price was right. Brand new games, I mean, I'll poke my head around, but there's nothing really... Holy shit, I gotta get it. But yeah, mostly it's just like an occasion to, like, hang out with some good friends and play a lot of board games and just, you know, it's a vacation. I know I was just on a vacation, but I don't really count Europe as any form of vacation, so this is the actual vacation. Yeah, I come back then Saturday night, probably also around 10ish. So the Gen Con is open on Sundays, but it's kind of like, it's definitely the lamest day. Everyone's packing up, and how am I... So we decided, last year we did stay for Sunday, but we were not really impressed at all with what was happening, so we decided this year we'd rather be there Sunday morning than Thursday morning than Thursday afternoon, because Thursday morning is where it's at, and we'll just skip Sunday and it'll be fine. Because if we arrive Wednesday, we can just play some games that we own in the hotel room and stuff. And why does that shift over? Why would that be a thing? Anyways, so in preparation of going on vacation again, I had to work on a video in my spare time, because otherwise I really couldn't finish a video by Wednesday, I don't think. Or if I could, it wouldn't be very good. So, in my spare time, then, I worked on a video about the Kowloon Walled City in China, which no longer exists, but is one of the most fascinating places to ever exist. Just really cool stuff. And I knew... I've been interested in the Walled City for a while, so I've known about it. I didn't really know its full history, though. See, that's just utter fuckery. That's just so bullshit. Oh my god, that's stupid. Anyways. So, very, very fascinating place. I like weird locations like that. That's one of my favorite things to kind of learn about and talk about and stuff. Yeah, obviously my history videos do like the worst of any series, but they're probably my personal favorite to work on. And there's an SCP. There's an SCP called the Architect. I don't know what number. I'm sure I've talked about this, but it's like this little ball device, and when left in a location, it will like continue to expand like the interior space of a room, like obviously as in like an anomaly. So the exterior will stay the same size, but the interior will be like gigantic. And so in the SCP narrative, you know, it's in the Kowloon walled city, and so it's like all these cramped together buildings, and they're really small on the outside, but you go inside and there's like this gigantic huge maze of interiors, and it's just, that always was like one of my favorite SCPs. Yeah, so I'm hoping it'll be kind of a cool video. Just, I mean, the pictures alone are just fascinating. Just you don't even need words for me to explain what's going on. Like, just look at the pictures and it's just badass. And I haven't finished the video, I haven't put it together, but I'm thinking I might actually include like video footage. Like, I want to say it was the BBC, but they are like responsible for everything, so I don't know if that's accurate. But like the BBC or somebody went in and did like a documentary when it was still around, and so I might use some video footage from that, which would be a new thing. So yeah, that'll be up next Monday. And this Monday, tomorrow, is the Snow Elf video, which is pretty cool. I didn't know almost anything about the Snow Elves. I remembered the Falmer from when I played Skyrim, but not really much of any knowledge. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. And, yeah. That's pretty much it for the Exploring series. It's like, oh, just remember that random one that makes you jump up instead of jumping right. We won't tell you which one, but you gotta remember. On this completely just uniform background. Fuck! Okay, it's like as soon as that ledge is in view, that's the one. That's the one. As far as this channel is concerned, obviously we had a bunch of Morrowind, which I'm sure you are all up to date on. I also put out a video about Gorn, which, man, I have been playing a lot of Gorn, alright? I am utterly sore. Shoulders, arm, back, it's just, oh, so much Gorn. Yeah, that's definitely one of the most fun things that I've done in VR. And, you know, other games I've obviously tried melee combat and stuff like that, but for some reason Gorn just does it better than anybody. People were saying it was because of like all the physics involved. Oh, I forgot about that one. The way that bodies and objects, weapons and all that, they all move very realistically. Well, not realistically, but they all have physics involved with them. And like, if you're holding a nunchuck and a sword, like, you can use the sword edge to like lift part of the nunchuck, like stuff like that, where it all just kind of works together, and it's so satisfying. I want to play it right now. I would have done it for Hang with Mangg, but I would have had to do post commentary because of all the heavy breathing. Okay, it's right before the ledge is in view, so okay, well that's useless then. I have to like count. Yeah, Gorn is good. Gorn is life. I want them to keep adding more stuff. More stuff. I think we went another week again without any Zelda content. I just really do not have any motivation to record it, because it's like I'm not like exactly near the end, you know. There's like 4 more parts or something like that, and the gameplay is just so lame, and it's not just, oh, I just have to go to the dungeon and do the dungeon. No, they don't. That's not how it works. There's so much shit in between the dungeons. Just drives me insane. Oh my god. Yeah, Spirit Tracks is definitely worse than Phantom Hourglass. Phantom Hourglass I beat in 2 days. Maybe I was just in a weird mindset for Phantom Hourglass, and I was just like, fuck it, let's do it. But yeah, my motivation for Spirit Tracks is gone. We'll finish it eventually. It's like, it's that one. So it's like, after you drop down, you jump over 2 more times, and then you do it. We're gonna get past this section by the end of this video. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. And of course, we played Sprawl. But yeah, pretty much a normal week. And next week is gonna be obviously very light due to Gen Con. I'm not exactly preparing footage or anything like that. Maybe I'll prepare a Zelda video, but that's not much consolation. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'm sure I'll get some footage at Gen Con or some pictures or something, but that might just wait for the next Hang with Mangg. Yeah, well, speaking of board games then, Monday again we were gonna do Tales Under Moonlight, but Mert was still interested in board gaming. And so we couldn't exactly decide on a board game. Because I want to play Cosmic Encounter every week. And they don't. It's pretty much what it is. And so I think we finally settled on Scythe. But then, because I was playing Stardew Valley all week, and I was really into farming, I brought Agricola, just, you know, in case they decided to play that instead. And sure enough, new games always have an appeal to them, so we played Agricola. And it had been like a year or something since I had played Agricola. But I remembered the rules pretty well. And so yeah, I ended up winning because they didn't know all the little strategies, but I didn't end up winning by that much. It was fairly close. I was disappointed in myself, although I did get dealt a shitty hand of cards. But yeah, it was a good game. They all liked it, and I had my fun with it, actually. I'm not like the hugest fan of Agricola, but having all those cards there and the varying strategies, it's a decent little game, and I was in the farming mood, so that helped. And yeah, it wasn't a bad time with Agricola. And so that inspired me to finally learn how to play Keyflower, which is not a farming game exactly. It's a pretty unique game, I suppose. Fairly popular. Like a worker placement. It's a worker placement game, but you can put... Like, you can buy tiles that workers go on. So, like, at the start of the game, everyone's kind of putting their workers on communal places. Like, there's a big pile in the middle of spots you can put workers on. But then you can also, like, bid in order to buy those tiles so that you can put them in your village, which you want to do. And then from then on, like, you can put workers in the communal section, but you can also, like, put workers in your own village on your tiles, or you can put workers in other people's village on their tiles. And so there's workers just all over the place, which is pretty interesting. But really the thing that drew me to it was the physical movement of resources. I really love that concept, and I've really, like, never played a game with it, even though when I was designing the On the Backs of Gods board game, that was a key component, was the physical movement of goods and resources. I really like that. Scythe has that as well, where it's not just when you get resources, they go into sort of your supply, your pile. No, they're at a location, and if you want to use them at another location, you have to physically move them across the board or whatever. I really like that concept. It's not a tremendous part of Keyflower, but it is there. God damn it. And so that's kind of what interested me. It's called Pick Up and Deliver, but it has kind of... There's variations on that, but Keyflower has the version that I like, where if you want to upgrade a tile or something, you have to physically get the resources over to that tile using actions. I really like that. So, we are not having a board game day tomorrow due to, we had Board Game Royale on Friday, and we have Gen Con this week, so there's no board game day tomorrow, but, shit. I'm gonna bring Keyflower to Gen Con maybe Wednesday night or something when we're all sitting there. Maybe I can bust out Keyflower. Could be fun. So yeah, that was that. Board Game Royale then was on Friday. We try to do this once a year. This is, you know, Ziggy is a huge Bond fan. And of course he loves Casino Royale. So Board Game Royale is the board game version of that, where it's not required to dress up. That's optional. Formal attire is optional. And even Ziggy doesn't, like, go in a suit or anything, but I don't do that. Unless I'm forced to, I do not dress up. And there's alcohol involved, which is good. There's snacks involved, and it's usually just a night for party games. There's usually like 7 or 8 of us. And yeah, it's just a nice board game event. We pretty much do the same thing on New Year's Eve, but this is specifically about board games. And so I brought a whole goodie bag of party games. The one that I really wanted to get played, the main focus, was Captain Sonar, which I got right before New Year's Eve, but we didn't get to play New Year's Eve. And we don't have many occasions where we have 7 or 8 people, so it hasn't come up, but I really wanted to get it played. We started with Unusual Suspects, which is the racist game, which is always a good time. Oh, fuck, just a little too late. Then we moved on to, I believe, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong, which we play. Since I've gotten it, we've played it at every single party event because it's just that entertaining. Yeah, it was a good time. I was not the murderer or the accomplice once. I was not the forensic scientist once. I was an investigator and a witness every time. But yeah, it's just one of those good games. Me personally, I prefer the Resistance. Because I think I'm better at the Resistance. But Deception is always fun. We played Codenames, played a bunch of Codenames. That's just always, I mean, it's the #1 rated party game for a reason. There are people that don't like Codenames, but I don't know any of those people. Yeah, just a grand old time with code names. Then we finally, I believe, oh, I can just do that. That's a lot easier. Fuck. We finally busted out Captain Sonar. We did not have 8 people, which is really the optimal amount, because there's 4 roles on each team. And so with 8 people, everybody has 1 role, which is ideal. We had 7 people, so I had to double up as both the captain and the first mate. I was my own first mate, which is kind of sad. Damn it. But, so Captain Sonar is basically real-time battleship on steroids. It is, again, a game for... technically, I guess you could play with 2 people. So I guess it's 2 to 8, but really it's like 6 to 8. And you can play it turn by turn. You don't have to do real-time, but... really, that's only for your first game to learn the roles. After that, if you're not doing real time, play a different game. Yeah, hold on. Getting close. It's this one. No, fuck! We're getting closer. We're getting closer because now I know which one it is. It's just the execution. Yes, I am terrible at Mega Man, I know. Yeah, so 2 teams, and there's a giant divider between the 2 teams. It's like a big, like, DM screen, so you can't see anything on the other side. It's fairly, like, it's a quality divider. It's really good. It's actually 2 dividers, but anyways. So you're broken up into 2 teams, and each team is controlling a submarine. And there are a number of different maps to play on that have varying degrees of open water and islands and stuff like that. And the goal of the game is to eliminate the enemy submarine by doing 4 points of damage. And so there are 4 different roles. The captain is in charge of moving the submarine, so telling the crew whether they're going north, east, west, or south. And they are also in charge of launching torpedoes, dropping mines, and launching drones and sonar and stuff like that. They're also really, like, I mean, they're the captain. It's probably the most intensive role because they need to keep track of what everyone else is doing. They need to listen and talk to all their other team members, whereas the engineer does not really give a shit what the radio operator is doing. The captain needs to be knowledgeable about everybody, and, you know, like, after the captain has played a couple games, he could probably play any other role because he understands them all. The first mate is in charge of the various different, like, systems and abilities of the submarine. So whenever the captain makes a move, the first mate is in charge of ticking off a box of their choice on one of the various abilities. So, like, you have to, like, charge up your torpedoes and charge up your drones and sonars. And so every time you get to make a move, you get to charge it up a little bit more. And so for me, since I was both the captain and the first mate, whenever I made a move, I just checked off a box of my choice. Oh, you oh, come on. This game. I probably picked, like, the worst stage. I'm not very knowledgeable of NES games. Damn it. But I said we were going to get through this by the end of the video, so I have to be a man of my word. Yeah, so when I was both roles, I just checked in whatever that I was interested in doing as the captain, whatever I felt was important. Whereas if the roles were separated, I don't really know how they were doing it. I think Studs was the captain on their side, so I think he was just kind of trusting his first mate to know what he wanted. But you can just tell them, like, oh, focus on drones now, or focus on torpedoes. The first mate is the easiest role. It is the least stressful role. You don't really have to worry about much of anything. You just have to fill in the boxes. It's the role for, like, the people that aren't real confident about doing stuff, or, you know, they don't... They want to play, but they don't really want much responsibility or anything like that. It's the reason why the captain gets doubled up with the first mate if you have less people. Oh my god. So yeah, it's like a half of a role, really. The engineer is in charge of all these sort of damage that the various ship systems are taking. So they have a sheet that is divided into 4 sections, northwest, east, and south. And each section contains like 6 or 7 different symbols. And these symbols correspond to the various abilities and systems of the ship. So, like mines and torpedoes, drones and sonar, and the sort of special movement type ability. And so whenever the captain moves in a certain direction, the engineer has to check off or cross out a symbol from that direction, from that box. Basically, this means that whenever you cross out one of these symbols, like if you cross out the mine and torpedo symbol, as long as that is crossed out, even one of them, you can't use mines or torpedoes. So Ziggy was my engineer, and so I would often tell him, like, okay, keep torpedoes open, which means, you know, as I'm moving, avoid at all costs crossing out mines and torpedoes, because I plan on using them soon. Or, you know, keep drones open, or keep silence open, or whatever, you know, keep this open. And I would also consult him, because there are ways, if you move in specific directions, and cross out specific symbols, you can self-repair, which means that you can sort of wipe out a bunch of crossed out symbols. You can repair your ship automatically, which is very useful. And so I'd often consult him for, like, a recommended direction in order to self-repair, which is very useful. If you cross out enough symbols, you will take damage to your ship. And again, you can only take 4 damage before you lose. So you do not want to take any sort of stupid damage like that. And you can also surface, which, you know, brings your submarine to the surface, which involves you telling the enemy team what sector you're in, which is pretty useful information. But you get to fully repair all your crossed out markers. You don't get to repair your ship or your submarine. You don't get to repair damage, but you get to wipe out all those crossed out symbols. Then finally, there's the radio operator, which is the most important job, I would argue. For me as a captain, it was the most important job that I needed to, like... If the radio operator is fucking up or is retarded, you're not gonna win. Why am I still... I'm talking. Damn it. It's so difficult when you're just doing commentary about Captain Sonar. I mean, I care more about my commentary than the game. That's how Hanging with Mangg works. I don't like to interrupt the commentary and what I'm talking about just to play that game. The game is pointless. I just do it so I have something to do for an hour. The radio operator is in charge of listening to the enemy team's captain and listening to the directions that he is telling his submarine to move. And he is trying to track the enemy submarine on his map. So the captains and the radio operators have the same map. But the radio operators get like this plastic sheet that goes over their map that they get to draw on, and they can actually move it around. So they're tracking the complete route that the enemy submarine is taking, but they don't know where the enemy submarine started. So you may think that they started at F12, and you draw out their route, and it's all accurate, but you find out that they apparently just ran into an island, which is not a legal move, so they must not have started at F12. And so having the plastic sheet allows you to move the route around until it corresponds to what you think is their actual route, where they actually started and where they are now. I don't know how difficult of a role it is. I did not actually do it. Really, like, that's their only responsibility, is listening to the enemy captain and tracking the route. And yeah, they have to move it around and make educated guesses and listen to their captain screaming at them that they're fucking up everything and stuff like that. But the only really tricky part that I would not really want to do is there's an ability the submarine can do called fuck. It's called fuck. It's called silence, where you don't announce the direction you're moving to the enemy team, and the captain just moves 1 to 4 spaces on the map, just silently. It is an incredibly potent ability, especially if you're like sort of in the open. Like, if there's only 2 directions that you possibly could move, it's not that powerful. But if there's 3 or 4, the enemy radio operator has to sort of predict like 3 or 4 directions that you could have moved. And not only that, the fact that you moved 1 to 4 spaces, it's basically just a big fuck you to the enemy radio operator. But the radio operator is incredibly vital to the captain. I mean, the first mate, whatever. You just tell them, get drones online, and then you just leave them for a while. And then they tell you, oh, drones ready. And like, oh, okay, switch to torpedoes, blah, blah, blah. The engineer, yeah, I consulted with him quite a bit. He was important to me. Because I needed certain things to be online at certain points. But without a good radio operator, you're fucking dead in the water. You have no idea where the enemy is because you are not paying any attention to what the enemy captain is saying as far as movement is concerned. I really, without a radio operator, I would have no... The captain would have no idea. So the radio operator has to be good. They have to really figure this out. And the quicker the better. If you can lock onto it right away, you have a huge advantage over the other captain, because it's all about knowing where the other submarine is. And so once you do figure out... Oh, fuck, that was it. That was it. Why does it do that? God, this is so bad. So you're trying to kill them, obviously, and so you have mines and torpedoes at your disposal. And whenever you use a special ability like that, the whole game stops. Both sides stop to listen to what's going on. And if you're dropping a mine, you drop it next to your submarine, in one of the spots next to your submarine, and you announce that you're dropping a mine, but you don't tell them, obviously, where the mine is. The captain just marks it on their map where they dropped the mine. And at any time in the future, at any time you want, you can announce that you're triggering a mine, and you can detonate that mine at that spot. And if it's a direct hit, if they're right on top of the mine, they take 2 damage, which is half their health. And if they're just next to it, they take 1 damage, which is a quarter of their health. Same thing for torpedoes. You announce you're launching a torpedo, and then you, up to 4 spaces away from your submarine, no diagonals, you can you can launch a torpedo too. And again, if it's a direct hit, right, if you hit them right on the nose, they take 2 damage. If they're next to it, they take 1 damage. Otherwise, it's just a miss. And so just a good mine hit and a good torpedo hit, and they're done. And so you can see, you know, if the engineer is fucking up or something like that, if there's not good communication, and your submarine takes damage from just moving, that's a quarter of your health. That's a big problem. That's a big disadvantage. You can also use drones and sonar to help pinpoint where they are, which is really like, you know, the captain is issuing these drones, but really it's useful for the radio operator to help them out. So if you launch a drone, you just ask the enemy captain if, you know, are you in sector 6? And they either say yes or no. They have to be truthful, and then that's it. So there are 9 sectors in the basic map. So it's definitely the most used ability early on, when you just have no idea where they are and you're just stabbing in the dark. But it's very useful when your radio operator is like, they're either here or here, and you know they're not quite sure, especially like after a silence move where they've moved a bunch of spaces in like one of 2 directions. You can use it right after that to really pinpoint it down. So that's good. Sonar is something that I never used, and I ended up winning. Well, we ended up both winning a game, so it's hard to say. But sonar, the enemy captain has to give you 2 pieces of information about their location. Either what row they're in, what column they're in, or what sector they're in. But one of those pieces of information has to be true, and one has to be false. So they can be honest about what row they're in, but they could lie about what column they're in. Or what sector they're in, or so on and so forth. This is very tricky. Generally, the radio operator, if they're not stupid, they're probably going to know what sector you're in. And so you want to be truthful about what sector you're in, because they're going to know that. And you want to lie about what like column you're in to throw them off. Because if you're 2 spaces off from where they think you are, which you won't be for long, eventually they'll narrow it down. But if they launch that torpedo with slightly bad information, you know, you could avoid a damage or even 2 damage, which is obviously very huge. And then if you counterattack with your torpedo, but you know where they are, yeah, that's how you win a game. Yeah. So that's it. That's the game pretty much. There's 5 maps in the base game, and they basically, there are some like special rules for some of the maps, and like the final map has like a special ability that you can use and stuff like that. But we played the first map, alpha map, twice. Yeah, oh man, it was so much fun. That's honestly like one of the best party experiences ever. Just screaming at my radio operator and just frantically trying to figure out, oh my gosh, where the enemy submarine is, and hoping that the torpedo that they're launching, they're a little bit off, and yelling at my engineer. And I mean, yeah, I enjoy the captain role quite a bit. Everyone enjoyed it. Everyone enjoyed their roles. No one wanted to switch roles. It was just all good. It's the only downside, I guess, is apart from the first mate, it's not really like a party game. Like, for people that are not board gamers, it wouldn't, I mean, they could probably do the first mate if you have just a couple people there, but if I wouldn't bust out with like my family at just like Thanksgiving or something like that. Oh, let's play Captain Sonar. Like, there are just better party games for that situation. But for a group of board gamers, I don't know if there's anything better. I really like Resistance. I have a lot of fun with Resistance, but holy shit, Captain Sonar. And I had been hearing for months and months that Captain Sonar was the shit. Just, the biggest problem is the the number of players required. We generally just play with 4, maybe 5, and 6 is you can play with 6. It's not really ideal, but I would play Captain Sonar with 6. But 8, 7 or 8 is an uncommon number for us. That's like a special party event. Got it. Oh my god. How long did that take? 45 minutes? Perfect. Now I'm going to game over right here. It was absolutely the highlight of the evening. We only played 2 games. I guess it was getting late, even though we played Telestrations afterward. We played like 2 games of that, so we could have played more Captain Sonar, but Ziggy pulled the plug on it or whatever. So I'm sure, I mean, anytime we do a party now, Captain Sonar is going to be played. It's just, that was a damn fine game. Bullshit. God damn it. Fuck. Oh, man. And, yeah, so we ended with Telestrations, which is always hilarious. It's really the best, the only drawing game that I would ever play. Because the worse you draw, the funnier it is. And it's not just being a bad artist, which, you know, I am by far the worst. The key to really, I mean, you can play for points, but don't play for points. You're just playing for a fun time. And the key is to not just, like, copy the drawing of the person before you. Just not just look at their drawing like, oh, okay, I can copy that. The key is to just make it funny. The key is to not to misinterpret it or like draw something different. Like if the word is, you can get some lame words, like you can get Idaho, okay, and you know the person that got that ended up just drawing like a map of the US and like highlighting Idaho. This is boring. Okay, this is very boring. That's not how you should be playing Telestrations. Because everyone else, they just literally copied the picture. They drew a picture, a map of the U.S., and they highlighted Idaho, pretty much. I didn't actually get my hands on that one. It didn't make it to me. But if I got it, and I realized, okay, it looks like... I mean, I'm terrible at geography, so I would have assumed it was like Wyoming or something. I would have like drawn like a landscape picture of Idaho, of you know, Wyoming or Idaho or whatever. Because that's really what makes it funny, is sort of the misinterpretation, and just adding details that really don't need to be there, because that's what you end up laughing about later. Is just sort of these ridiculous connections and the warping of the words and things like that. It's kind of like playing the game Telephone. I was telling them about this. I don't know if people remember. I don't know if they still play this, but Telephone, I think it's called Chinese Whispers or something like that, but I'm sure Telephone is the PC version of it. But it's like, you start out and you have like a circle of kids or whatever like that, and so it starts out, you whisper in one kid's ear like a phrase, and then they whisper in the next kid's ear the phrase, and so on and so forth, and then at the end you see what the phrase has become. You see if it's changed at all, or if it got all the way around. And I was telling him, like, that's just a super duper lame way to play Telephone. Like, I never did that when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you know, they'd tell me a phrase, like, the dog jumped over the log or something like that. And I would hear that in my ear, and I would just turn to the next kid and be like, jet fuel can't melt steel beams, or, you know, something like that. I mean, that wasn't a thing when I was a kid, but just something utterly and completely different. And then that's how I got enjoyment out of Telephone. Because then you get this big reveal at the end, and it's like, well, where the fuck did that come from? And it's perfect. That's how you play Telephone. And so I don't play Telestrations like that. I'm not saying I just draw something completely different. But that's the same idea. It's about the big reveal at the end and going through it and just this sort of hilarious sequence of drawings and guesses that really just make you laugh. It's all about laughing. If you're just going to sit there and draw professional copies of arts and blah, 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 or play Telephone and just be like, the dog jumped over the log. Like, it's just, no, that's lame. Anyways, it was a very good board game royale. I feel a little bad because, like, when I'm playing board games, I do not tend to eat or drink much. Drinking, yeah, generally okay, fine. But eating, I very rarely eat anything while I'm board gaming or role playing. Just, it's not something. Fuck, I forget about it every time. I think we can give up there. I did make it past it, but I cannot talk and do Mega Man. So, you know, like, Ziggy and his wife, they put out this whole spread of food, and they do this, like, every time we have an event like that. And, like, I'll eat, like, one thing, and then it's just like, okay, I'm done. I don't do it. I don't eat while I game. I mean, if there's, like, a bowl of candy there, I'll munch on it. But other than that, I'm not like, getting up while I'm gaming to go and eat something. I don't know. It just is what it is. So I feel bad because they put out all this really good food, but I'm just not a big gamer eater. But everyone else enjoys it, so it's fine. Yeah, so that was pretty much that. I guess that's about it. I don't really have much else to say. Oh, Sprawl. Gosh, we're 53 minutes in. I didn't even talk about Sprawl. I don't have a lot to say about Sprawl this week, actually. It was a really, really boring session for me, and it was pretty much my own fault, because I was playing as Desolation Williams, and all Desolation Williams cared about this session was doing the job. We had a job we were hired to do. I just wanted to get to the job, do the job. Like, I would have been perfectly fine time skipping 3 days and just doing the job. And I realized that that's kind of, it's a bit too much to ask, I guess. Because, like, if I was playing any other character, like a reasonable character, there would be, like, a lot of prep work done and stuff like that. Like, that's the whole legwork phase, is preparing for the job. Whereas Desolation's version of preparing for the job was buying a grenade launcher and then going and sitting watching TV for 3 days. So, I mean, I brought the boredom on myself. I'm not really blaming the others. Because, yeah, as a reasonable character, you should be preparing. You should be trying to get intel and things like that. So, yeah, I didn't roll a dice until, like, 2.5 hours into the session. When we finally got to the job. Everything else, they were, like... They were in, like, multiple gunfights. Like, they almost died. It was intense stuff they were doing, and I was just, like, sitting there. I have a habit of really trying to, like, play a character and ignoring sort of, like, the fact that we're all sitting here and we're playing a game together. I have a habit of just trying to play a character. And sometimes that's really not a good thing. Sometimes it's great, and I think A lot of people should try more to play their characters. But sometimes, yeah, it can be pretty rough. Like, they were going to, like, the arms dealer guy that I hooked them up with. They were going to go over there, they needed to buy some ammo and stuff like that. And they asked me if I wanted to go, and I was like, you know, I already have my grenade launcher. Why would I go? You know, why would I go to this? Just to watch you buy stuff. Which is a very in-character thing. Like, why would I do that? Whereas, you know, in the game, however, when they got there, they ended up getting into a firefight at the arms dealer shop with some gang members. And so I completely missed out on that. And so it's like, well, I mean, if I had known that was going to happen, sure, I would have gone. But, I mean, am I supposed to just... It's a tricky position to be in for something like that. It's like, there's really no reason my character would just go along to watch you shop. But if I just sit out of stuff, I'm going to miss out on stuff. Then, later on in the session, Thomas's character... He, like, knocks on my door. He's like, you know, I'm gonna go meet up with this guy and try and get some intel about the job. And I was just like, you know, what do you need fucking intel for? We're just gonna go do the job. We're gonna blow up the place and it'll be good. And so he just went off without me. And again, there I was just playing the character. That's what Desolation Williams would say, and that's what he would do. He wouldn't care about intel. But he ended up being, like, ambushed when he went to this meeting because it was all just it was a trick, and so he ended up almost dying in a big explosion and firefight and stuff like that. Because, yeah, he didn't really have any backup or anything like that. And again, it's just like, that's what my character would say, that's what they would do, but, you know, that's what things are going to happen whether I'm there or not. So it was just, yeah, it was an unfortunate sequence of me really playing my character and not doing anything, whereas they were just trying to play a regular session. And so they got to play a regular session. They were in multiple firefights and things like that. And I just sat there listening. So I blame myself. I don't blame them. And finally, we ended up going to the job, and I was just gonna walk up in there with my grenade launcher and just lay the smackdown on everybody. Because really, Desolation Williams was a one-shot character. He was meant to die last session, and they suggested, like, okay, why didn't you just say, like, I retire and play a new character? And yeah, I could have done that, but that feels very wrong to me, to just give up on a character. That's something I used to do. So I'm like, you know, I'm just going to go up there with my grenade launcher. I'm probably going to die, but I'm going to blow up a lot of stuff before I do. And the job seemed to be going all right at the start. I was blowing up everything. I was not getting touched. It was all good. Phil was getting shot at. I was happy. But then, like, Thomas, his character, loaded up his car with explosives and, like, drove his car straight into this main facility while he was being under attack by an automated turret. And so, of course, the entire thing just exploded, and we all died instantly, and that was the TPK. So, I think it's funny that Desolation Williams did not play really any part in his own extinction, in his own death. Because that was, I mean, it was a pretty foolish move to drive a car full of explosives into an automated turret that's firing at you, but yeah, that's how we all died. So, we all resolved then that we're going to make more serious characters, professional characters that really want to strive to be the best of the best, prime runners and all that kind of stuff. And so, for me, to play a serious character, really, it's just Artemis. Like, I feel really bad about where I'm at as far as a role player, that I don't have a better roster of characters that I can, like, rely on and depend on, that I enjoy playing and that are, like, serious, competent, good characters. I really just have Artemis, and I mean, I love playing Artemis, don't get me wrong, doesn't matter what system I'll play him, but I wish I had more, but I don't want to play just, like, a generic good guy. Like, I have to play, like, a gimmicky character. It just is what it is. It has to be interesting. And so I just have not come across a good character that's interesting. That I enjoy playing. I don't know. I guess I got to do more work on it, but we'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, so next session, after we get back from Gen Con, I'm going to roll up Artemis as the sort of hacker / drone guy, and we're gonna try to be some professionals. We're gonna try to do it right. I don't know if that'll happen. We'll see how it goes. But having the TPK does give us the chance to sort of start fresh as like a cohesive group rather than just one by one we die off and we bring in some newcomer that we don't know and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. We're basically starting the Sprawl over. It's almost like a new campaign, but we'll keep the same name because it's the same location. And, yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But I guess that's about it. Check out the Snow Elves video tomorrow. And I'll be at Gen Con for most of the week. And that'll be pretty much that. So, my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. And I'll see you fine folks next week.